it is, in fact, if you don't use other people's money that are not commingled, where they're just a counterpart, you're not commingled. If you, which is the vast majority of independent films, are in this sort of financing where it's a contract between two counterparties and it's a zero-sum game. So if the distributor is able to rip off the producer, they're gaining and the producer is losing. And if the distributor is able to prevent the distributor from ripping off the production company, then the production is gaining and the distributor is disgruntled that they're unable to extract a lot more revenues for the same amount of work, which often turns out that the distribution company withholds its service of distributing the film, and so the production has to go find another distributor. So there is so much fraud within the movie business that even the most reputable companies, they get frustrated, they count on the fraudulent revenues to be able to survive. And if you deny them those fraudulent revenues, then they just won't render you any services. Now, if you find, which is very similar to commodities before, commodities exchanges. So if you co-finance a studio film and a studio has distribution representatives in foreign countries, then the studio won't allow the studio representative in Australia to rip off the parent company, the studio company in America. So that's one of the benefits of co-investing in a studio film. Now, there are companies that will provide sort of collection services, and they will monitor the revenue, the counterparties. Kind of Vintage House is a collections company in the movie business. So all this is to say that if you know how to negotiate a contract in the movie business, which is not too stringent, because the distribution companies and the sales agents and so on and so forth, they take a fee, but they count on extra revenues that are not within the fees. They count on those fees to be able to really make their money. So when there's a lot of money sloshing around in an industry, there's very little centralized oversight and regulation, there can be a lot of fraud. Now, that fraud is really a function of uncertainty, because the independent movie business is very much feast or famine. When a movie goes into production, there's like a sort of a survivorship bias, a reverse survivorship bias. So let's say, for instance, behind the camera individual, let's say a production designer may work on 5 films that are about to go into production. But out of the 5 films, only one of them will actually go into production. And the fee that they charge for the film that goes into production pays for all the wasted time that the production designer has had working on the 4 films that are just stuck in development hell and don't go into production. So if the production company can assure the individuals, give them a higher degree of certainty that if they work on this film, the film will go into production and they will get paid, then you can flip that tide and all the production designers will compete with each other lowering their price to work on a project that they think is a relatively sure thing to go into production, and thus they'll get paid. And so it's really the profits in the movie business is not so much in the wasteful spending of the movie, but it is in fact in the uncertainty premium. So there isn't so much a risk premium. You can't crush down so much the risk premium, but you can in fact crush down the uncertainty premium.